Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Friday, March 29th. We're on the Americas account. We need to get a watch and learn. We may get that off screen. Otherwise we need to play 4 rogue cards and then we'll move over to the European account. So we're kind of just going to play on casual and lock in this 12, rank 12. If I found myself to have some extra free time, I might come back and try even to play some odd paladin on ranked and see if I could get up a little higher. We have a decent amount of news and I'm certainly not going through it very fast, so yeah, let's try to cover it. Tech Raptor here has an article. Throw friends across the ravine this summer in Devolver Digital's Heave Ho. Devolver Digital's games, like, okay, sometimes they're alright, sometimes they just kind of pop up and they get more coverage than they deserve, and then they're not that interesting. I think Heave Ho is probably a good example of one that's not that interesting. I'll watch this trailer though, and let's, just in case I find something in that might sound a little bit more appealing. It feels like it's a clone of Bloom Blocks in a lot of ways. Yep. This is kind of like a QWOP game is what it looks like, which inherently means that it has a level of Super Meat Boy platforming craziness on it, although in this case it's more hanging, so it's closer to Mount Your Friends, I imagine, more than anything else. It has like 2-player ability. Yep, this does not look interesting to me at all. It looks like it would just be a frustrating example of a physics game that I'm not super cool with the idea. So here we can show a little bit of it, so in case I'm just not describing it well, which I probably am not. Yeah, this is just a physics game like Mount Your Friends, which is pretty fun, I would say, when you're playing with your friends, but when you start to actually try and criticize it and look at the actual game content there, it's very, very low in quality. Frankly, I would question if Devolver Digital doesn't just sign on as publisher of some games so that they have something to announce every year. Like they're trying so hard to be a mid-tier publisher that they're signing on too many games, when if they were a little bit more, I don't know what the phrase would be, selective, Devolver Digital might stand for something instead of really just being, oh, we have this silly E3 presentation every year and then we have a collection of so-so games. Because that's really what it boils down to, is that they do just have a collection of so-so games and that's it.
Justice is mine.
Moving on, I suppose. Tropico 6 is now on Steam and out. It's rated mostly positive. It's $49.99. This is a top tier recognizable game, so it deserves to at least be on the follow list. None of these are loading in. I'm not 100% sure that Tropico is the city builder economy simulation game for me. Maybe it is, or maybe there isn't one, frankly. Like, the problem with City Skylines is it really wasn't a concept that interested me much. But maybe if there was a slight change there. I don't know how you would approach that change or do that change, but I don't know. So yeah, that puts me
I don't have enough mana.
in a weird position, and I'll just have to think about whether I really want to play the Tropico series or not. You know what I should do is I should watch somebody else play it. That would give me a big foot forward as far as understanding is Tropico a city simulation game that is more story based, more interesting, more tutorialized, or is it just going to be kind of this open world city skyline style of game where you can do whatever you want to build whatever city you want, and then you're going to spend the next 50 hours trying to learn the systems and build the ultimate city according to the systems of that specific game.
Justice is mine.
Next we have a game on Steam called Spare Teeth VR. That's a weird name. And it looks like a weird game. One of the Gearbox games that was announced was also based on the creators of Rick and Morty, and it is a pretty weird looking game too. So what this feels like is it's kind of like a collection of mini games based on sports things, skee ball in particular. It's a stand in one place and throw things VR game. Early access, requires VR, and it's $5.99. Normally I would kick a game out of consideration at that point because that's a little too cheap, but there is a lot of polish here. So I'll put this on the follow list. It would never leave the follow list though, so that's another thing to consider.
There once was a man from Gilneas.
Because I'm almost certainly never going to build or buy a VR headset. I'll come over here and just check my audio levels because it sounds funky to me. No, I guess nothing. Maybe I'm just a little nasally. I do feel like my voice has changed quite a bit over the course of 5 years of doing a consistently large amount of talking. So that is a slight consideration also.
Justice is mine.
Well, I'm gonna lose, but I think I've played all the cards I needed, so I'll just play this too, and I'll just play this also, and just make sure I play all the cards. Interesting. This next game we have on Steam is called Dharma the Swan, which I feel like this is a complete just concept being stolen from that TV show Lost, which would have been the Dharma Initiative, and it even says Dharma Initiative in the thing. But if you look at this developer, we have a collection of garbage, low-effort games. So clearly, I would not suspect that this is an officially licensed product. Now, he may very well have the TV show on ABC, the producers of the TV show Lost, I believe it was ABC, in a bind here. This is $8.09 discounted. I would not recommend playing it at all, because frankly, there may not be enough unique copyrightable things from Lost for that to be a valid complaint, but I think there probably is. I think there is a good reason why this should go probably to a lawsuit. And yes, nobody is online. So why are these people lit up when it says away for 1 week, away for 1 week, away for less than a minute? Hearthstone is a lot like Clash Royale. Let's move over to the European account. Yeah, Clash Royale is the game I play on my phone, where I run a clan and we let people in and they play for a week and then they disappear. That is probably the normal process of everything. It's like every game, people get into it, they try it, they get bored, they leave. That's pretty typical. So I don't expect to see that change, but it does really suck when people specifically friended me and then I can't ever challenge them because they're never online, or watch them when I have a watch and learn. Here we need to win on the European account a Paladin or Warrior victory. I got the Tavern Brawl done in the European account on screen, so that pack has already been opened. So yeah, just Paladin or Warrior victory, and on the European account I might as well just play ranked. Let's see, TechRaptor has an article here, TechRaptor's favorite edutainment games. I wonder if this is just interviewing your staff.
I will fight with honor.
And while this might be an interesting article, they don't even bother to find pictures here for the article, so you could have easily just found some pictures and put them up, or maybe you have to get clearance to use every picture because you're trying not to get sued. But then why have all these pictures here at the top? Yeah, either it's fair use or it isn't fair use, and I think using a picture as reference for games being mentioned would be fair use. So it's just a badly written article, or badly formatted. So yeah, that's a nothing article, frankly. If I'm looking for video game news and you're going to talk about an education game, you better be telling me that education game is either soon going to not be available for purchase, or soon going to be available for purchase or for free, or something like that. If you're just talking about something that is hard to impossible to actually collect because it's been out of sale for decades, like Carmen San Diego, for example. I don't think you can find that anywhere legitimately, and it would be hard to get running even if you did find a copy of it. So yeah, what is the point of that article other than to just kind of be clickbait and have people... I played wrong. If this is explosive trap. Alright, I lucked out on that. Moving on, Game of Sutra has an article. Into the Pixels exhibit calls for submissions of game art. The Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences, the AIAS, and the Entertainment Software Association, the ESA, have announced the annual Into the Pixels video game art exhibit, now accepting submissions for its 16th collection. Video game artists and developers interested in submitting their in-game art or concept art, including characters, environment, or landscape, and other artwork used in the creation of games for consideration, could do so via this link until Monday, April 29th. So yeah, seems like they're it's a little bit of a self-aggrandizing, self-promoting thing, but frankly, there is actually a large amount of good art in video games that does not get its due. In all honesty, nearly every museum everywhere should at least once a year have a video game visual art collection presentation. And we've started to see some of that happen where most orchestras will do at least a night in which they will play video game music. So it is becoming more of a thing, certainly. Proceeds of this, it's worth noting that the selected works chosen to be included in the collection will be auctioned off on eBay the week of E3, with proceeds benefiting the AIAS Foundation and ESA Foundation. So it's more than just a little bit self-aggrandizing. It's straight up, it's give us your art so we can sell it and make money off of it. And that probably would stop a lot of artists from participating.
Job done.
Explosive trap. So I would say personally I'd like to see a better way of doing something like that. It is not, in my mind, acceptable for an artist to be asked to give away their art for free, even as a YouTuber who very possibly would have to ask an artist to make thumbnails for them for free. I fully admit it's not right. I will simply say it's the situation that would most likely happen. Particularly when you're talking the ESA, which is a conglomeration of the biggest AAA developers out there, and I have no idea how much money the Academy of Interactive Arts and Science makes, but I imagine they're not impoverished either. So asking starter artists, I would be okay with them donating or loaning their art and then auctioning it with all the proceeds going to the artist, but I am totally not okay with it going to the foundation. Even if it was a partial cut, I might be okay with it. If it was 70% of the proceeds go to the artist and 30% goes to the organizations for running the event, that would be acceptable. That's what Steam takes, and that's what game developers are always complaining about, is Steam's cut is unfair at 30%. The jury will be an independent person. I'm not going to name them. Someone from Zynga Rising Tide Games, another independent person, someone from Valve, someone from the Yeti Institute, which I believe is an art institute, and
Reporting for duty. To battle.
Let's see.
To battle. To battle.
Let's see if this is explosive trap. No, it's misdirection.
For justice. Reporting for duty. I must move quickly.
Let's see.
Mushroom power.
Job done.
There we go. There's also another person that's in the jury from Big Red Button Entertainment, and someone from Blizzard Entertainment. I've never heard of Big Red Button Entertainment. Sorry, it just went quiet there. I'm just trying to focus on playing the game and actually winning more these days. And today's been not a good day, not a wide awake day. It's a slow Friday. I don't know what it is about Fridays, but they always seem like they're slower than they should be.
Reporting for duty.
Reporting
for duty.
And there's darn it.
At least I had chicken.
Next we have a game on Steam called Gravekeeper, which looks like a top-down twin-stick RPG. Looks a little bit fast-paced. I don't recognize any of these developers or publishers. Let's see, this is $7.99, so 20% off. I'm not sure if there's an actual single player experience here or if it's maybe just a wave based experience, but I'll put this on the follow list and see what the reviewers say. Looks polished enough to be given at least a chance. Alright, so if we can't win with Paladin, let's try with Warrior. It's highly unlikely I'll be able to win with Warrior, but whatever. Let's see. TechRaptor has an article, Metro Exodus Steam keys were stolen, deactivated by the publisher. Now, tinfoil hat on for a second. This sounds a lot familiar with some of the other dirty devs out there who have said, oh, well, some keys were stolen, frankly, without even any evidence of it, and then they've deactivated all the Steam keys to force people to buy the game if they really want it at a higher price or at a different store. Remember, the only people that would have had Steam keys for Metro Exodus would have been people who pre-ordered it before Metro Exodus went as a Epic Store exclusive. This, again, tinfoil hat is on right now. This feels like this might be straight up just shenanigans happening. The article, take off the tinfoil hat at this point and read the actual article. TechRaptor's article says a quantity of Metro Exodus Steam keys were reportedly stolen from a factory where physical Metro Exodus packages were being produced. As you may know, Metro Exodus was originally planned to launch on Steam before a last-minute change. It had the game moved over to the Epic Store instead. The publisher was honoring pre-orders, but they had also already begun production of physical packaging, including Steam keys, prior to the Epic Store deal being made. Unfortunately, the publisher says a Steam community discussion posts that a number of keys from these defunct packages were stolen by some unscrupulous worker at the production factory. These stolen keys found their way on the third-party gray market sites and were subsequently purchased by some people. So, once again, somebody somewhere bought a third-party key thinking it was legitimate, and now they're being punished by the publisher and developer of the game because the publisher and the developer of the game couldn't keep their keys from being stolen. And clearly, the fact that these Steam keys would have been activated in the first place probably indicates that there's a flaw in the Valve third-party key activation system, because you should be able to generate keys without activating keys, which is to say, as these packages were being developed, you should have not had the button pressed to say that these keys could actually be could be redeemed. They were simply being held in a database. They should have been just held in a database on Steam, and then if somebody tried to use that key, it probably should put up some red flags and go, wait, this key hasn't been activated yet. Let's see. One user in the discussion post inquired as to why Deep Silver had not headed off the problem at the past. The response in short was they were simply unaware that these Metro Exodus Steam keys had gotten into the wrong hands. How? Like, either you told that factory to destroy all of those physical copies, or you took delivery of all the physical copies. Or you told the factory to store all your physical copies for you. And in any of those scenarios, you were not providing the proper oversight.
Time waits for no one.
The binaries on the series of keys were disabled from the get-go as a precaution, and it was only when players contacted them about their games not updating correctly that Deep Silver became of the problem. What does that mean? That it's not just the Steam keys, but also the entirety of the game?
Dragon be hungry.
What does this one do? Destroy a damage in the game.
Dragon be hungry.
Deep Silver recommends that anyone who finds their Steam copy of Metro Exodus deactivated contact the seller and demand a refund. Some users in the thread have already reporting success, although they are unfortunately finding that the seller can only offer them an Epic Games Store key as a replacement. If you want to get Metro Exodus on Steam, it's probably best to wait until the 1-year period of exclusivity is up. In the meantime, check out the review of the game. So yeah, this seems a little shady. It's hard for the publisher and the developers to not seem like they're at worst, at best incompetent, and at worst straight up just propagating a lie so that they can deactivate these keys. I would not be surprised if over the course of a longer amount of time all the keys on Steam suddenly are deactivated. Let's see. Do this, I suppose. Then we'll return. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article. You can play Risk of Rain in early access right now. Risk of Rain 2 looks a lot different than what I recall Risk of Rain 1 looked like. Risk of Rain 1 was a flat 2D platforming fighting game with some roguelike elements. This looks like a 3D open world roguelike sort of game. Like, it's the same style of game, it's just gone 3D, I would say. I know a lot of video game journalists, at least, were very happy with Risk of Rain 1 and hyped about it for a brief amount of time, at least. I don't know if that ever really translated into any real people being super interested in the game, because the game didn't look visually that interesting, frankly. It must have played pretty good, but it just did not catch my attention. Speaking of video game journalists, I've heard a lot of them whining, and this is a kind of consistent thing that pops up over and over again. A lot of people whining about Sekiro Shadows Die Twice being too hard. I don't know if that is because it really is that hard, or if this is just another example of video game journalists not not only being failed journalists, number one, but being failed gamers, number two.
Time waits for no one.
But yeah, in all fairness, if I tried to play Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, I cannot guarantee that I wouldn't have a large amount of frustration in it and not want to play it, just rage quit it. I've certainly run into a few games like that. And in general, their argument that the game should have an easy mode is something you can kind of agree with, but on the other hand, the journalists are saying it with a very authoritarian voice, like it should be mandatory, it should be forced on an artist and creator to make a game have easy modes. And I'm like, no, I mean, you've crossed past the point of giving a journalistic informed opinion into demanding special treatment, and inherently that's always the problem with video game journalists, is that they want special treatment, and they've gotten it far too much. After you attack a minion, force it to attack its neighbor. One of its neighbors. Oh. TechRaptor has another article. Reveal politicians as elder gods in the Sinking City Devs Chrome extension. So, it'll replace common political terms with the names of Lovecraftian elder gods, forbidden rites, and all manner of eldritch nonsense. So basically this is a kind of anti-Trump thing more than anything. Let's see. Yeah, this is extremely political for no reason. It replaces words like economy, Hillary, Trump, Brexit, Putin with a series of far more fun words, like phrases like human sacrifice and other gods. How is this not straight up, though, just opening yourself up to fake news, like, and misinformation? That's just like not a smart move in any sense of the word. Like, you're just gonna forget you installed this Chrome plugin and then misunderstand important information and important news that you should probably, if you're seeking out that news, understand accurately and completely. Yeah, that's not a smart move. That's not a good way to promote your video game either. Like, you're gonna have less than a few thousand people even bother to install your dumb app, and in the meantime you're going to ruin everything else. Interesting. Can I find a way to actually play this?
Let the pain speak to me.
Like, if I could get this on the field and destroy it without having any cards, I could do that. If I could get a bunch of armor, if I could get 10 armor and get that on the field. Yep, but that didn't work. Yeah, the odds that I was gonna win with a warrior though is pretty low. Let's go to casual play and play paladin. Next we have an article from Gamasutra, designing for deck building in video games. This is more of a opinion piece tutorial, as Gamma Sutra occasionally has. I've actually gone through my RSS feeder yesterday and got rid of a lot of things that have not just had an update in a year. A lot of RSS feeds, either they don't have an update or they're just things I don't care about anymore. And it's getting kind of empty. In a weird way, my Facebook page has also gotten incredibly empty. I think Facebook has changed how it works, but it's like, yeah, I'm not even seeing any new posts at all. It's kind of pointless now to even go to it. We may have finally started to actually see that chilling effect of people being afraid to say anything or post anything because of just how polarizing the internet has apparently become. Moving on, we have a game on Steam, Surface the Soaring City Collector's Edition from Big Fish Games. It's a hidden object game, in case we haven't seen one of these in a while. And frankly, it's been also a couple of weeks since we've seen any adult games. So I'm starting to get a little worried again. It's $12.99 for this hidden object game. I'm not interested in playing any more hidden object games. I've got plenty on my already that I haven't covered. Yeah, I'm starting to get a little worried that Steam might be doing a silent blocking of adult games again. Maybe, maybe not. It does seem like it is kind of just random. And there seems to be one person who approves things, and if that one person takes a vacation or takes a week off, nothing gets approved, which is not any way for Valve to run a business, frankly. There should be no delay in approvals without there being a major reason for it. Meanwhile, we have a game like Prismatic Maze that easily comes on the Steam, and this is kind of an interesting idea, but it's too simplistic to actually be worth buying. A maze that only reveals itself as you can actually view the parts of the maze, and so I don't know what the color elements here have to do with anything, if they really mean anything or not. It's probably just to make the game look a little bit colorful, because this is like a one-screen Unity shot. Well, okay. Worst case scenario, if you need to get a victory, just stall and the person will get bored and leave. Well, let's skip over to the European account, the Asian account. Prismatic Maze is $4.99 with no discount. That's not something I'm interested in, of course. TechRaptor has an article. Wait a minute. This is talking about Star Wars Legion, a board game, a miniature game. So not a video game. So I guess if you're interested in Star Wars Legion, they have that article, but that's not something that I'm going to talk about. Here we have a watch and learn. Can we get an actual watch and learn, please? Next we have a game on Steam called Bedtime Blues, which is yet another horror game with a teddy bear in it. This looks pretty awful in the jagginess of the lines. Seems extremely low resolution. Like this is just a port up from a mobile game or something. They want $8.99. There's two other games that I already own in this similar vein, and this one in particular is not even a full game as much as it is just a Five Nights at Freddy's clone. So off screen, I did this Tavern Brawl, and that gave me 1 pack, and we just got 1 pack with the Watch and Learn. I still do have classic cards I think I can unlock on the Asian account, so this isn't possibly going to all be dust. But if I don't see an epic or a legendary, there's a decent chance that it all will be dusted. Let's see. Yeah, all 10 cards dusted for just more pile of dust. And yeah, we can just double check. Still can't look at the new cards. Alright, well then that leaves us with a 50 to play 6 pirates, or a 50 to play ones that cost 2 or less. Let's re-roll the pirates. And then we'll play as priest or warlock. And so let's see, custom warlock, rank 18. Let's see what this does. Game of Sutra has an article here. Fox next vice president on turning Marvel Strike Force into the Starbucks of mobile games. Marvel Strike Force, I believe, is a pretty profitable game. I don't think it's a pretty good game, but it gets its microtransactions in the same way that Starbucks gets its due, as far as suckering people into paying way too much for cheap, bad coffee. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Uriel's Chasm Gel Shock. Uriel's Chasm 3 Gel Shock. I believe Kiss Limited is the publisher that floods Steam with low effort games. This doesn't look particularly interesting. It's $4.24. Let's just look at this developer. Yeah, a game called Z. A lot of these are rated positively, but
so many
none of these games are. Yeah, actually, quite a few of these games are rated positively, and then quite a few of them are rated mixed. So, and quite a few of them are rated negative. And there's just a lot of games there. So let's just look at what the developer themselves have made, since Kiss is kind of all over the place. Well, the developer, they have a bunch of weird named games. Uriel's Chasm 2 is neutral, Uriel's Chasm 1 is negative. That gives me more than enough information to know that there isn't going to be some surprising quality here for $4.24. I don't even really know if it's a shoot 'em up. It says it's an RPG. It seems like it changes genre quite a bit.
Why do you call?
almost out of time.
Let's see. TechRaptor has this article, Coverage Club CRPG number crunching in Numjin, which I guess that's Chinese RPG number crunching. Doesn't sound like that's particularly an interesting game. You click the numbers and orders. An order. Interesting. So does it get more complicated where there's 2 copies of the same number? Or is it actually pretty simple? A game like this, Numjin, feels like it's trying to do something like the match 3 games, like How to Build a Boat or 10 Million, where you're match 3 and getting some abilities, some RPG abilities that you can buff up and you're fighting enemies. The difference there is Numjin seems to be doing the very generic thing of just clicking numbers in order, which would be incredibly boring very, very quickly. Like, extremely, extremely boring. In fact, just looking at the screenshots, looking at the art style, Numjin looks boring. So I'm not going to seek out any more information about it or put it on the follow list or anything like that. I say that a lot. I need to develop new phrases to say the same thing over and over again.
Unleash me.
Next we have a game on Steam called Royal Storm Bowling, which looks like football but is bowling, or yeah. And then there's like airplanes flying over for no reason. This feels like this is a low effort combination of random assets. It's 84 cents discounted. Yeah, I have no idea what this is, but whatever it is so inconsistent that it just would not. It's just not justifiable to even consider it. Okay. Gamma Sutra has an article. Tencent opens a new cloud streaming platform called Start for public testing. This is for users in Shanghai and Guangdong. So this is Chinese servers, at least for the time. This came out a week after Google announced its platform Stadia. In a weird way, I guess Tencent and Google are competing in quite a few different places, but it never really occurred to me that that might be the case. He's played the Malagos and actually done it successfully. Keep on playing Warlock. TechRaptor has an article. Epic, quote, not trying to exclude anybody, end quote, reaches nearly 500 million in sales. This quote is not true. When you specifically say you're going to not let comments and reviews on certain games unless the developer approves. When you specifically say you're not going to allow adult games on your platform. When you specifically say you're going to curate your platform and not let games that you consider to be of low quality on your platform. You cannot make this over embracing statement and say that you're not trying to exclude anybody. You are trying to exclude lots and lots of people on lots and lots of different fronts. Just be honest about that. You are definitely trying to exclude Steam as a company. Otherwise you wouldn't be doing exclusivity deals, and you're definitely trying to exclude other competitors. You are definitely trying to exclude people who want all of their games in one place. The full quote, as it goes down further here, is the goal here is not to necessarily exclude anybody, but we're building a new platform. We're trying to unseat companies in the space regardless of who they are. We have to put down put our name down, and the best way to do that at this point is through exclusives and to have larger audience come to us to play those games. So I don't know, maybe that's a slight misquote in the by TechRaptor to say that they just said they're not trying to exclude anybody. And certainly, if you're taking out words, you are misquoting somebody in a sentence. So that's more than a slight misquote. That is a straight up unethical quote.
So many possibilities.
That being said, Epic is talking about trying to build their name, and the truth is, their name has been garbage for a very long time. If any other company was in charge of the Unreal Engine, the Unreal Engine would be the only engine anybody would ever use, quite frankly. It's Epic that are the jerks, and it is Epic that had the bad licensing deals for game developers trying to use their engine. It's Epic that competes directly with them by stealing their ideas in the way they stole PUBG's ideas and made Fortnite. It's Epic that steals dances from people. Their name is garbage, and it is garbage because of their unprofessional, unethical business practices. And exclusivity is not even one of the many examples of unprofessional, unethical business practices. So it's a bigger moral imperative in my mind that people should not use the Epic Store, not just because of the exclusivity issue. They shouldn't use the store because Epic does not deserve your business. Let's see. Let's go ahead and play this, and hit that.
Job's done.
Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Asteroid Wars, which is probably just an Asteroids clone. It looks a little bit better than most, but it is still just an Asteroids clone. $6.99 for single player only experience. That is way too expensive. Again, if I worked at Valve, I would have the phrase asteroid flagged, and I would want to look at every single game that's an Asteroids clone and maybe send back an automated email. Maybe I wouldn't reject your game, but I would send back an automated email that says, hey, your game is going in a very competitive field. We have a lot of Asteroids clones out there. Your game's not going to sell that well. Are you sure you really want to submit this and try to make a few pennies off of it? And I imagine that wouldn't really change anybody's mind, and inherently at some point you're going to have to Valve would have to decide whether they want to curate the large number of Asteroids and Arkanoid clones out there on Steam. And maybe you do that behind the scene, and maybe you say, okay, we'll put your game on the storefront, but we're going to put it in the lower tier algorithm that never promotes it to anybody, because we know what this game is, and we've seen dozens of copies of very similar games. But inherently, I think a lot of developers would think that their game is different, that their game has that extra bit of love and attention in it that would actually make people want to play it. Because I think a lot of the developers that make these low effort games really don't have a firm grasp on the scenario and the reality of the situation, and maybe that in part is Valve's fault. Maybe they should make them aware that, like, yes, there are 10,000 other Asteroid clones games on Steam. None of them have ever sold. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Bricks VR, which is an Arkanoid clone, but it's in VR, so at least in this instance, it's ugly, but it's not got a lot of competition. If you want to play a VR version of Arkanoid for $4.99, which is particularly cheap for a VR game, this is probably one of 3 options that exist on Steam. Why you would want to play Arkanoid in VR when you can basically see that you're just going to be looking at a flat 2D plane in VR for no reason. That's questionable, certainly. I don't think that would be a worthy use of your VR headset. Speaking of VR headset, the reason apparently why there hasn't been any more VR rodeos on Giant Bomb is because they've pretty much given up on PC VR games. It's too much of a hassle, they said on the Bombcast, to try and get all of the things configured and set up to use it, which is kind of where I would probably be at too if I owned a VR headset. As I'd just say, it's too much of a hassle. Moving on, Gamasutra has an article. Sony's veteran Kaz Hirai has left the company after 35 years. You can see the Japanese workers actually spending 30 years at the job. So the former CEO, Kaz Hirai, has departed the company for good after spending the past year serving as a chairman and director. He passed it over to the CEO, CFO. I don't think at 35 years you can really suspect that there's any big secret there. He's just clearly handing the job over. The thing to take from this, though, is while Sony of Japan is still in charge of Sony Interactive Entertainment, the people in charge of PlayStation, seems to be run out of their new California office. And that's 2 different offices across the planet with 2 different, very distinguished, different ways of doing things. Alright, let's try the priest. See if we can get a priest victory. I probably should just play paladin or play casual. So yeah, I don't think there's any big conspiracy behind why somebody would leave a job for 35 years. Although, you know, even for a Japanese person, he looked pretty young to be retiring. So it is maybe a little surprising, but not a lot.
The light shall bring
Next we have a game called Riftwalker, which is a Dark Screenshot Syndrome tower defense game, from what I can tell. These may be asset flips, they may not, depending. It's kind of hard to tell with all the darkness, but yeah, it doesn't seem like there's anything else to really say here. Like, clearly this is just a tower defense game using darkness as an element. It's early access. They want $13.49 for it. Single player too, so no surprises there. I will have to say Riftwalker does a slightly applaudable job of hiding the fact that it's a tower defense game. But yeah, that's all it really is.
Hello.
Let's see.
Greetings.
TechRaptor has an article, Hard Times. They look at the Division 2's clash of difficulty and immersion. This is another example of a video game journalist kind of complaining about games being too difficult, it seems. I don't think too many people really are interested in playing the Division 2. Frankly, so I kind of don't care if the game is not balanced well or is balanced well. So yeah, I can't care enough about the Division 2 to care about even being upset that somebody's complaining that it's too difficult. Next we have a game on Steam called Extinction Alien Invasion. Looks like a top-down twin-stick shooter with some dark screenshot syndrome. Yeah. Yeah, I don't see anything here particularly unique. They want $4.99 for this. That's gonna be a no.
Prophecy.
This. And end the turn. Next we have a game on Steam called Oops Puzzles, which seems to be like horror pictures and square jigsaw puzzles, which are pretty stupid. So, I don't know. Normally, when you see a game like this is 59 cents discounted, you would not get horror puzzles, you would get anime girls and lewd pictures. So if we start seeing a large amount of horror puzzle games like this that are these low effort games, that might be an indication that some of these, that the adult games, the lewd games, are getting blocked from being released. This is an English-Russian game with 30 achievements. It's an achievement game. You can tell by the numbers as the achievement too. So yeah, very low effort Russian game. 1 damage to all of the minions. Silence a minion. And then this.
Beware the shadow.
This next article is quite surprising. TechRaptor has an article, Peaky Blinders video game announced and coming in 2020. I don't know what Peaky Blinders is. I know it's like a TV show. Critically acclaimed TV show. Criminal enterprises of the Peaky Blinders games of the 19th century. Okay. As someone who hasn't seen any of this show, it seems like it's a 19th century kind of gangster series. That feels a lot like a Mafia game, and then it becomes kind of questionable, like why would you make a game based off of Peaky Blinders when the last Mafia game didn't really succeed? Maybe the TV series is way more popular than I think it is, and maybe it will get some sales. I'm not sure if this is going to be a Telltale style story-driven game, or if it's going to be more of a first-person shooter style of game. Let's see. But yeah, I suppose that is newsworthy. Next we have a game on Steam called Peekaboo. A lot of these games came out late this week. Maybe to avoid PAX. This seems like one of these hide and seek games that was a Minecraft clone originally. Where you can turn into items and hide yourself amongst other items. So you've got some like asset flips. Early access $4.49. I don't think the hide and seek on Minecraft as a mod is interesting enough to yeah, I don't think it's interesting enough to go that full route and make people want to continue to play that outside of Minecraft. Like, 'cause That is also not really something I think that is super popular right now. It was super popular about a year ago, the Minecraft hide and seek, when Captain Sparkles was playing it a lot, but that's come and gone. Okay.
The end is coming!
And then this. Heal. And then this.
Job's done.
Gametsu has an article here. Super Dragon Ball Heroes World Mission launch trailer. So, yet another Dragon Ball game. It never stops. Super Dragon Ball Heroes World Mission is due out for the Switch on April 4th in Japan and for the Switch PC on April 5th in the Americas. I'll watch this trailer. Seems like there's quite a few characters here I don't recognize, so I don't know if maybe this is something particularly new as far as characters, or if these are only characters from this game. Let's see.
My magic will tear you apart.
Job's done.
So I'm seeing a lot of alien-looking people that seem to be slight variants and spin-offs of recognizable Dragon Ball characters, but Goku, Vegeta, Trunks seem to be about the only ones that are actually recognizable characters. As for what this game actually is, it looks like it's just a fighting game. Yet another fighting game. And like, there have been so many bad fighting games. Oh, this is the one where you make the fighting is actually done with cards, and you make custom cards, and you can move stickers around on the cards to make it look cool. It might be a slightly easier experience, and it doesn't really fall in line as a direct competitor to Dragon Ball Fighter Z. So if you had the Dragon Ball Fighter Z series continue, because that was a big success, and then you had a card game based off of Dragon Ball experiences, Dragon Ball characters, that's not a terrible idea. Unfortunately, we kind of know that they're going to keep on pushing more and more Dragon Ball things. So I wouldn't really suggest Super Dragon Ball Heroes as your first Dragon Ball game. It's kind of a secondary thing. And honestly, I don't know if you really should be that into Dragon Ball at any point in your life, or at any point in which Dragon Ball was coming out. You should have been that into it. It always struck me as an old anime fan back when I was big into anime that people who were obsessed with Dragon Ball were basically only obsessed with Dragon Ball, and they were way too obsessed with Dragon Ball. It's a big series, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of anime out there. Expand your horizons. Don't just watch fighting action series and think that's all there is to it. There's plenty of magical girl series, there's plenty of action series, there's plenty of horror series, there's plenty of mech series, and some decent amount of period or fantasy historical series out there. There's romances, there's like for every kind of genre out there, there's a lot of different options.
Someone called for the doctor.
TechRaptor has this article, Graveyard Keeper coming to Nintendo Switch very soon. This is a weird looking announcement trailer. Okay. So, Graveyard Keeper is a slightly popular game, I guess. Not hugely popular. I haven't heard a lot of people talking about it. But, so I'll leave that article there. We're gonna have a lot of stuff left over here, so we need to kind of burn through news like crazy. Let's see. Komatsu has an article, Jumpgate spiritual successor Warp Nexus announced for consoles, PC, and smartphones. This looks like a space fly around game. Do we have a real... it will launch first on PC via Steam Early Access. Okay, we don't have any real dates here, so that's kind of not news. I suppose it is also worth mentioning that the Shonen Jump game was also a big failure, so that also involves some of the Dragon Ball characters. So there's been a decent amount of bad games in the series even recently. What do I want to do? Well, that'll kill him without killing the other character.
Free me! Job's done.
Next we have a game on Steam called Hellhole, which just looks like Downwell. Dark Screenshot Syndrome, even for a game that's a Downwell clone. Early access, $2.69. Seems like it's also trying to copy the Super Meat Boy art style when this is not that same developer. Yeah, that
So many possibilities.
probably trying to also copy the Binding of Isaac too. Just create a lot of confusion.
Mushroom
Hit that.
Free me!
Do that. Didn't do that. Next we have a game on Steam called Jack and the Creepy Castle, which looks like a side platforming game. Not seeing any real enemies in any of the screenshots. So it looks like you're just kind of jumping. Well, apparently you're a jack-o'-lantern and you have to bounce yourself around what is probably a pre-bought castle asset. Or a bunch of assets mixed together haphazardly. Yeah, that is definitely not impressive. And if these are the enemies, I did not see him actually have to deal with any of the enemies. He seems to have a life bar. $4.99, no discount. English and German. Yep, not impressive.
Your magic shall not save you.
Free me!
Face the light.
Let's save this card until the end.
Almost out of time.
Next we have a game on here that is written in a non-English symbol, and I cannot pronounce that. Kashi Force? Perhaps? It looks like a physics Tetris kind of game, or a shooter Tetris kind of game. I don't know. It looks anime. Here we've got an anime girl. Puzzle game like, rhythm game like game where you command and use the moves like in a fighting game. So you've just named like 3 different things. Like, it's kind of stupid to put this on the follow list, but it is so all over the place. I would like to see if anybody actually plays this and comes back and says, oh no, they're actually doing something amazing here. It's $11.69. Let's see what languages. English and Japanese.
Almost out of time.
So I'm gonna put this on the follow list just because it's so extremely weird looking. I'm gonna do this. Do this. Do this. Almost ran out of time. After apparently down again.
Unleash me.
How long has this
Gametsu has an article, Wings of Darkness PAX East 2019 gameplay walkthrough. 13 minutes of footage. Wings of Darkness, apparently
I can't win them all.
some kind of flying around game. Game is due out for the summer. PlayStation version is due out this summer for PC. PS4 version also in development. I'm gonna watch this trailer just to see what they are. Yeah, it seems like it's a fly around, a 3D shoot 'em up, basically. And it doesn't feel so much like a bullet hell game. It seems like it's very doable. And that's actually quite an interesting idea. Alright, let's just play Paladin here and see if we can get up in rank. We've got so much more news, and with the exception of a watch and learn on the main account, I think we've done all the daily quests. So let's just start doing the news.
Uther versus
And try to get it all through, and then I'm just gonna have a ton of games that I'll probably do a little bit of sorting through and leave for Monday. Game Sutra has an article, Get a Job, Game Mechanic Studios is hiring a community manager. The job is in North Hollywood, California. Frankly, real gamers becoming community managers are probably one of the best things that, as far as a career, that we could get real gamers into. Although a community manager almost certainly is not going to be writing any of the policy, and so you're still going to be enforcing stupid concepts like all gamers are toxic and stuff like that. If that's what that company wants to say.
Reporting for duty.
Repent!
GameIndustry.biz Digital Minister Margot James, quote, this government is committing to helping games company. Writing for GameIndustry.biz, the UK Prime Minister details how the government is supporting British games developers and more. This is a puff piece from the actual UK minister, which, being a UK minister, may not be as big a deal as you might think. So,
Reporting for duty. To battle.
and quite frankly, this is just a political propaganda piece. Until the UK government can fix its mess with Brexit, which it seems incapable of doing, no company is in a good state in the UK. That's just how it's going to be. So, here we have a game on Steam called 1 Million Worlds, which is a ugly looking Minecraft clone with maybe some other elements in it. It's early access for $5.39. Yeah, not going to make it to the list. Let's see. I'm gonna skip a bunch of games. Hop back in here. Gamatsu has an article here. God Wars: The Complete Legend is coming to PC in June. It includes additional functions like keyboard and mouse support. God Wars apparently is also on the Switch. So Kodadakawa Games will release God Wars: The Complete Legend via Steam worldwide this June. The PC version will include new features, including mouse and keyboard support the formation function used to rearrange the alignment of characters in the formation screen, and other functions to automatically place characters on the map screen. What is God Wars? It's probably a tactical JRPG game. I've vaguely heard of it. It might be worth playing. It might not. This is definitely something that, because I've vaguely heard of it and it's JRPG, I'll put it on the list and I'll see if it actually interests me and if people actually like it. If they do, then I will move it over to the wish list. Let's see, I'll watch the trailer too. This is one of those Japanese trailers that really isn't showing much. Yeah, it does look like it's just a 2.5D tactical placement JRPG. Let's see. GameIndustry.biz has an article. Legal experts weigh in on the controversial European copyright directive. Legislation shifts responsibility onto platform holders and won't necessarily affect content creators. This is Article 7 or Article 11. The articles here, the story says detractors of the legislation have taken particular umbrage with Article 11 and Article 17, formerly the much debated Article 13, so they moved the number around to confuse the issue, I'm sure. This is an article to kind of talk about, but I mean, this is really just the EU passing laws and being stupid like the EU often does with their kind of totalitarian ideas that they're embracing. You would think that Europe would be done with totalitarianism and wants more free speech and such, but they really don't. Like, it's not been instilled into their culture.
We have turned our curse into our strength.
TechRaptor has an article, Tropico 6 review, the needs of the mini. So this review might help me determine whether I want to play Tropico 6. Let's see, they gave it a 7.0, very good. While Tropico 6 maintains the series' humor and complexity, it sometimes gets bogged down with the weight of its own systems. There's plenty of fun to be found here, but you're left wanting more. Pros, catchy music, plenty of depth, satisfying progression. Cons are catchy music, frustrating AI, and stagnant gameplay. So, yeah. I guess that's a thumbs up. It's not a resounding thumbs up, but it's a thumbs up nonetheless. There's a MMO called Closers for the PS4, due out mid-April in Japan. If you're interested in that, here's the thumbnail and here's the beginning of the trailer.
Reporting for duty.
skip through this trailer and see what this MMO looks like. Yeah, so it's a fighting. It's a 2.5D hack and slash game that sometimes I think goes in the cutscenes in which you're fighting things. Kind of looks like a Persona style game.
Reporting for duty.
But since it's an MMO, there is a level of
The battle.
of repetitiveness, I imagine, that would be in the game. Right. So at this point, I've skipped over a significant amount of games, and I'm just trying to look at the articles, and a lot of them are tech raptors, and so Tech Raptor's website has decided not to work. So I'll just tell you the title here of this Tech Raptor article. Todd Howard implies that Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6 will not be at E3, which kind of tells me that that's not a big surprise, and I imagine that there wasn't going to be too much at the Bethesda showcase as far as games they were going to announce or new games that they were going to show off anyways. So yeah, I'm not super surprised by that idea.
Speak your piece.
That they won't. Although frankly they kind of need to have like a little teaser or show, something to show, because they've already kind of teased and shown those games. So there's kind of no reason that to take a step back. If they shouldn't have announced it the previous year. They should be announcing it this year. But I think Bethesda, in a lot of ways, is realizing that they're not doing as good as they would like to be doing. Let's see, Shaman cards? Do we want a bunch of Shaman cards?
Out of my jungle!
Let's see.
The battle.
What a bother.
Let's see, this guy's at like 6. So let's just kill this guy.
The battle. The battle. Reporting for duty.
Gematsu has an article here. Nurse Love Syndrome is coming to the West for PS Vita and PC in April. The definitive edition of Love and Nursing. This is I think, otome, girl on girl visual novel. It's already got a Steam page. So okay.
Come dance to my song.
If it's got a Steam page, at the very least we know not all adult romance dating visual novel games are being immediately rejected. But there seems to be a lot of smaller ones that wouldn't bother to announce that they were coming out,
The battle.
not showing up for the past couple of weeks. So I'm getting a little worried about that, but maybe, I don't know, maybe they just took a week off in Japan.
Job's done.
For probably not for PAX East or anything like that, but maybe they took a holiday for another reason. Let's see, Labyrinth of Galleria Coven of Dusk is going to have a follow-up on July 25th in Japan. This is a dungeon crawler looking game. It actually looks pretty nicely animated for the characters and such. So it's due out for the PS4 and Vita July 25th in Japan. Maybe it won't come to the West at all.
The light bends to
Gematsu has another article. Marvelous and Tencent announced Story of the Season smartphone game. That's all they've got, is just a logo.
Reporting for
Oops,
duty.
I did not mean to click on that button. Okay. Do I want to kill something?
Victory is yours.
Nope, I'll just take the victory. We're doing win streak bonuses, we're getting victories. It's kind of no reason to break a streak, so let's just keep on going. If I could get my Asian account up to rank 13-2 also, that would be great. Tech Raptor has an article here. Booty calls men at work brings out the hunks. This is a Nutaku game for guys looking for hunky guys.
Uther versus Rexa.
Looks like a lot like Honey Pop, except for I would say the guys are probably not as lovingly drawn as they should be. And they seem to be kind of all over the board in body types. When I'm seeing an older guy, I'm seeing an African American guy, I'm seeing a pasty red-headed guy, and that seems to be about the only three options, and it doesn't seem like enough variety. And the older guy doesn't look particularly fit. It's kind of pudgy, and the pasty red-headed guy looks kind of fit, but also kind of scrawny. I think we could probably find Nutaku should find some better animators as far as drawing male characters, and I imagine they will get better at that eventually.
Reporting for duty.
Let's see. TechRaptor has an article here. Kingdom Come Deliverance Royal Edition announced. Let's see. So, seems like the Royal Edition might be the complete Game of the Year edition. I'm not even sure I know what Kingdom Come Deliverance is though, so I'd have to do some more research on that aspect alone.
The battle.
Gamma Sutra has a article. Players Lounge raises $3 million for wager-based competitive video game platform. So, I think we may have talked about this, like actual gambling and betting on esports players. Does not seem like that's a smart move, frankly. Like that seems like that's going to only cause controversy, and the video game industry at no point needs controversy. We get way too much of it and way too much blame from controversies that have nothing to do with video games. So yeah, hopefully that story dies and that company does not go forward with their intentions. TechRaptor has an article. Hell Let Loose hits Steam Early Access July 6th. This is a Kickstarter game. What kind of game is this though? Is it a first-person shooter? Or is it a military? Yeah, it looks like it's a military first-person shooter. Doesn't look particularly interesting to me though. Remember, I'm skipping basically all of the games that came out. There's so many pages of games here that I'm just gonna have to look at off screen.
I fight.
Gamma Sutra has an article. This is big news. The Xenoblade developer Monolith Software is staffing up for a Zelda project. They're going to work on the Legend of Zelda series. Now the question would be, have they been handed a new Switch tier AAA Zelda game,
Reporting for duty.
or have they been handed the job of making
For
a
justice. To battle.
mobile 3DS style game?
To battle.
So
Fight.
this might be a Game Boy-esque Zelda game that's less cared about. I imagine that's probably what it is that they're going to make either a new 3DS Zelda game right before the 3DS gets completely abandoned by Nintendo, or I guess they could be making a cell phone game too. A Zelda game on the cell phone would work fine, I imagine. Like, not really too difficult to play something like that. The article continues, the Japanese studio has previously provided development support in Skyward Sword, A Link Between Worlds, and Breath of the Wild, so I guess they may just be taking on a support role in the next Breath of the Wild game. And I imagine the next Breath of the Wild game is not going to be particularly different than the current one. And that we're just going to see a lot of open world Zelda games that don't really change the way things are done too much. Gamasutra has this article. Buddy Pass will let Wolfenstein Youngblood players share with friends. The newly unveiled Wolfenstein Youngblood Things, the deluxe edition of the shooter, comes with a Buddy Pass that can be shared with a friend, who will then get to experience the entirety of the game for free as long as they're playing alongside the owner. This is definitely a new concept on top of the concepts of like season passes, and that would kind of suck because inevitably what you're going to run into is a scenario where the time frames don't line up and your buddy is going to want to play the game when you're not around, and either you can jump in the game and then just leave it running and hope that your buddy can play the game that way, which maybe they can, maybe they can't, or your buddy that you gave the Buddy Pass to is eventually just going to get suckered into buying the game because they'll want to play it when you're not around. On the other hand, if every game with co-op came with a Buddy Pass, it'd probably be pretty nice. In the same way that family passes are very nice, it's just a realization that some people won't buy your game because they were only going to play it with their friends. Just play another game here. TechRaptor has an article. Microsoft teams up with Shazam for a custom Xbox giveaway. I'm not sure if this has already happened or not. You have to go to Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter and tell Microsoft what surge power you think would best fit your best friend. Okay. So if you want a custom Shazam Xbox One, which would probably be worth a decent amount of money to resell, even if you weren't interested in it,
I will fight with honor.
go on there and see if you have a chance of winning. I imagine your odds are not great. Let's see. TechRaptor has an article. Magic the Gathering Arena rolls out $1 million Mythic Invitational. So, yeah, Magic the Gathering Arena trying to be the next big thing to take down things like Hearthstone. It's not a bad idea on their part. On the other hand, Magic the Gathering, the way they run their own tournaments, just the card game, seems to be increasingly worse from what I vaguely hear. I've seen a couple of YouTube videos talking about it. It's just getting worse and worse. So I don't know if Magic the Gathering is the one to trust to bring an esports bent to Magic the Gathering Arena. Maybe they know that too, and that's why they're going to maybe shop it out to another company to really run the things. Next we have a Tech Raptor article, Jedi Knights inspired RPG Warlander revealed. Interesting idea, certainly, although I'm not sure Jedi Knights is a game that people really would want to, people are really raging to see new games about, or inspired games. There's a trailer here. I want to see this trailer because I just recently played Jedi Knights and it was like a first-person platforming shooter game. This looks like a lot more like Too Human and you're hacking and slacking games. And I guess it's not like Knights of the Old Republic. See, I would much more understand somebody making a Knights of the Old Republic clone than a Jedi Knight clone. But this game Warlander does look interesting.
Speak your peace.
Move quickly to battle.
Next, Tech Raptor has an article, Chinese censors burn Cthulhu RPG sourcebook, the Sassoon Files. This is an interesting story. Basically, they ran a Kickstarter to, and part of the Kickstarter was to fulfill a book, and the books were being developed in China for sale outside of China, and that apparently is against the law in China, so they literally are burning books. They burned the entire print of the RPG called the Sassoon Files, and I think the Kickstarter guy got his money back. Now, there's some potential here that the Kickstarter guy is lying, but I don't put it past the Chinese government to burn books at all. So, I suppose if I was ever going to fulfill anything, I would probably not want my books printed in China. The risk there is too high. And this is just like a Cthulhu RPG game, so it's really got nothing to do with anything. Gamma Sutra has the same article. Sony veteran Kaz Hirai has left the company after 35 years. It's Tech Raptor has an article. Torchlight 2 enhanced version is coming to consoles in the fall of 2019. So maybe there's a good reason to maybe not play Torchlight 2, which I have on my Steam account, or maybe that is a good reason to play it. Kind of breaks the question is how important is the enhanced edition? Gamma Sutra has an article. We already talked about this. Game Mechanic Studios is hiring a community manager. Yeah, apparently a lot of duplicate news here, so good, we can close these. Tech Raptor has an article. Hob, the definitive edition, is coming to the Nintendo Switch in April. I don't know what really makes it more of a definitive edition than the original edition, because Hob is a pretty straightforward and simple game. So, and I don't think it has any like DLC or add-on to it. Let's see.
Mushroom power!
The light protects me.
Tech Raptor has an article. Super Bloody Hockey gets 2 minutes for instigating on consoles in Q2 of 2019. This is a 8-bit like hockey beat 'em up game. It looks like might be interesting, might not. A lot of these games though are just announcements for things that aren't even anywhere close to being out. So I'm trying to clear through all this. Gamma Sutra has an article, GameStop moving into esports with new events venue in Frisco. They're opening up the GameStop Performance Center in Frisco, Texas. That's where Gearbox is out of. So, and a lot of other game things. 11,000 square feet venue.
Let me
Interesting. Interesting idea, but not an idea that really would be expanded to many areas. You're not going to have a GameStop event center in every single city where there's a GameStop video game store. Next, we have an article on GameIndustry.biz. Rovio invests $3 million in Play Ventures Gaming Fund. Fund has reached its goal of $30 million, intended for investment in 20 to 25 companies. Okay, we'll just take that. It's not much of an article there. I'm trying to burn through all this news.
Trust the pirate's code.
So Gearbox at PAX East, Penn and Teller VR. Penn and Teller VR, frankly unfair, unkind, unnecessary, and underhanded. Written starts F-U, U, U, and U. Which is kind of what all of their games are, is joke names. Fool Us is the same way. Little else is known about this VR game. I imagine it's more of a VR experience of just magic, and I assume it's gonna have the Desert Bus game in it, and that's not a separate thing, but maybe it isn't. So, other than the announcement that this thing exists, there's kind of nothing else that can be said about it.
Reporting for duty. Battle.
So, why did Randy Pitchford do a 20-minute magic trick instead of talking about what this game is? I don't know. Yeah. Oh, and Gamatsu has a follow-up on that visual novel. Norse Love Syndrome is getting a PS Vita limited run also. So apparently it's slightly more popular than
Unity.
or they at least think it's going to be popular when it comes out. So it might be a big one. Let's see. TechRaptor has an article on Media Molecules Dreams. Early access starts April 16th. Dreams being the game that's not really a game and more of a insane game engine that is basically impossible to describe and probably uninteresting to play, if I were to add my own opinion there. Let's see. Gamatsu has Borderlands, the Handsome Collection free DLC Ultra HD pack launches April 3rd. So if you have the Handsome Collection, you will be able to get 4K Ultra HD and HDR packs for free. What version of that, though, gets that? Is it the PC? Yeah. So I don't actually own the Handsome Collection, but I kind of own everything in the Handsome Jack Collection. So, says on the PlayStation 4 Pro, Texture Pack World PO is a downloadable content for Borderlands, the Handsome Collection. On PC and Xbox One, players will have the option to download the texture pack for Borderlands, the pre-sequel, and Borderlands 2 separately. So I should be getting that 4K upgrade, but I'm not really sure what I could do with that, frankly, because it's not like I could put a 4K video. Well, I could make like one and as a test and put it on YouTube, and that's kind of it, like just as a test. But I couldn't play the game and record the footage, and it doesn't seem like there's any other changes being made to the games. It's just better visuals, which is nice certainly, but kind of unnecessary too. Meanwhile, we have TechRaptor as Gearbox at PAX East, Borderlands 2 VVR. So they're still pushing Borderlands 2 VR. Borderlands 2 DLC will come to the Borderlands 2 VR. The DLC packs adds, I guess this is all the DLCs to Borderlands 2 that I didn't realize weren't part of the VR game in the first place. That's odd that they withheld that up until that point. I still don't think it's a smart or fun experience to play Borderlands 2 in VR though. That's probably a nightmare. Let's see.
The pleasure is mine.
GameIndustry.biz has an article. Matching Teen Mansion surpasses $100 million as competition sees downloads rise. Homescapes, Gardenscapes experience surges in installs despite no recent updates to either. So these are mobile games that you may have seen the ads for, but where you're clicking things and fixing a mansion.
Reporting for duty.
Let's see, just trying to burn all this news. TechRaptor has this similar article, kind of a follow-up. Frustrated by censorship, Senran Kagura's producer Kenichiro Takaki leaves Marvelous. So we talked about this somewhat, but TechRaptor is actually covering it, so that's at least one Western video game news site talking about it, which is slightly surprising.
Reporting for duty. For justice. Reporting for duty.
Let's see. Gamatsu has the same article. Borderlands Game of the Year Edition announced for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC, due out April 3rd. And I assume this means I would have to buy the Game of the Year Edition for full price. I don't think you're going to get any kind of upgrades. Oh wait, no, it says free to existing owners on PC. If you already own the original Borderlands game on Steam, you'll be able to upgrade to the Borderlands Game of the Year absolutely free. Excellent. So even if you don't own the DLC, apparently you're going to get the Game of the Year edition.
Desperate seas I roam.
So that's nice.
Hey!
Then the question becomes, why couldn't they do that for Bulletstorm? And I know that Gearbox only published the Bulletstorm remastered version, but that's annoying, certainly. TechRaptor has the article, Borderlands Game of the Year Edition Remaster in the Hampson Collection Ultra HD. They're really doing a lot of Borderlands stuff, and that really goes to show how if you took 2K's IP of Borderlands away from Gearbox, Gearbox kinda has nothing.
Let me think.
Let's see, apparently you can buy the Handsome Collection right now at a 94% discount on Steam, and then you'd get the free update to the HD patches. Like, it seems like every offer is a pretty good offer here.
Reporting for duty. Reporting for duty. The battle.
So it doesn't seem like they're pulling any shenanigans. The fear is that the shenanigan will be Borderlands 3 is an Epic Store exclusive. And they're gonna probably wait till the very last second to announce that. They'll probably announce the date and announce that it's an Epic Games exclusive very, very close to launch, and hope that people are just so hyped for Borderlands 3, which I am, but also I haven't played the pre-sequel yet, so I could easily give it 3 or 4 years before I get around to it. On the other hand, if somebody gifted me Borderlands 3, the deluxe edition with all the season passes, I would have literally no excuse not to play it day one. So I would definitely play it day one. I could certainly, if I had time, try to go through every single character. All of these characters are new. I heard a rumor that all the previous playable characters are going to be playable too. If that's the truth, then that's not just wrong. There is a very good chance that that you would make a huge mistake by playing one of the old characters. You're not talking just 16 characters, you're talking, I believe, if all the previously playable characters, you'd be talking 18 different characters to play as. And unless you can change characters on the fly and switch to a different class, which you haven't been able to do in the previous games, and I kind of wish you could have been able to do. I don't see why they would do that. I think if you're going to be consistent, you'll be able to play the 4 new main characters. You'll probably not have 2 extra DLC characters added later on, like they did in Borderlands 2, because that was a mistake. And all the other characters, of which there are many, they will be voiced and NPC characters, which should be alright, but might kind of suck, because now, for instance, Maya, if you played as Maya in Borderlands 2, Maya may have a different attitude and voice than what you think she should have, which is exactly my problem in Borderlands 2, where the Siren, the Firehawk character, I always forget her name, had a much different attitude than I kind of felt like he would.
Well met.
The light dims, but we fight.
And yeah, I don't know what else to really say. I'm trying kind of hard not to overhype myself on Borderlands 3. Alright, Gamatsu has the same article. Borderlands 3 announced more information to come on April 3rd. Yeah, again, just I caution people, this may be an Epic Games Store exclusive. It may be the case that everybody should not play it until it comes to Steam. Particularly if you want to play that game with your friends and they're not going to the Epic Store with you, you're going to have to wait a year. And that probably would be the better experience.
I fight.
Gamma Sutra has an article here. Risk of Rain 2 is running a buy one get one free launch promo, which is kind of like the Bunny Pass but even better, for the first 2 days of sales for $19.99. I'm not sure Risk of Rain 2 is worth $19.99 though, so that's where you'd have to decide whether you think that's a good deal or not.
Reporting for duty. The battle!
But
The
we
battle!
fight. I fight.
Let's see. Still trying to just burn through all the news. Let's see, GameIndustry.biz has this opinion piece, the case for a smaller, more portable Nintendo Switch. I feel like the Nintendo Switch is portable enough for a kid's console, but they theoretically, rumor is they're making the smaller ones. So Sounds to me like that's coming regardless of the opinion or not.
The battle! The battle! The battle!
Let's see. Borderlands, at Borderlands on Twitter has now been relabeled Borderlands 3. So much Borderlands news. And they're giving out shift codes for Borderlands 1 and Borderlands 2 and Borderlands the pre-sequel. Actually, I think in Borderlands, the pre-sequel in Borderlands 2, the gold keys and those items weren't in Borderlands 1, but they're being added to Borderlands 1 in the Game of the Year edition, I believe, in some form or fashion. So there might be a slight change, might be a slight reason you would want to go back and play the first game. And I've also heard the rumor that Borderlands 3 is going to be more written like Borderlands 1 than 2, which that could mean basically anything. Frankly. Gamatsu has the same article, Borderlands 2 VR update to add all existing DLC this summer. Why that wasn't in the game originally is questionable.
The battle! The battle!
Tech Raptor has an article, Gearbox at PAX East Bulletstorm Duke of Switch Edition, which is, I assume, just the Bulletstorm upgraded version, full clip edition with the Duke Nukem voice pack. But it's on the Switch, so it's not going to be particularly high quality looking anyways. The Bulletstorm Full Clip Edition is the game that you would have to buy a second time if you owned the PC version of Bulletstorm like me, which means I didn't buy it, and I don't think I've played that game either and covered it, so... and I don't know if I would ever bother to try now, because I kind of feel like I was not treated as a good customer for previously having bought their product. Let's see.
Fellow seeker of truth.
Let's go ahead and mute this guy.
Do not fear.
And then Tech Raptor has another article, Gearbox at PAX East Borderlands board game Tiny Tina's Robot Tea Party. So this is the board game they teased, and it looks more like it's kind of a deck building card game. This really doesn't even look like Tiny Tina in the animation. It seems like they had a completely different animator animate everything. It might be interesting, an interesting play once or twice, but that's kind of it. And I imagine this is something that will be sold on their store and only their store. So I imagine most people will never be able to buy it.
Reporting for duty. The battle! The battle!
Move quickly.
Yeah, I have so much Borderlands news, and it's no surprise I have so many tabs open. Let's see. Tech Raptor has an article, Sci-Fi Noir Adventure Whispers of a Machine's Roar into Life April 17. I think we already talked about this game. The trailer really didn't show me anything. Maybe I left a bunch of things to, maybe I didn't do the follow-up work I was supposed to do, and I left a bunch of tabs open.
Reporting for duty.
That's a possibility. Moving on, Tech Raptor has another article, Gearbox at PAX East. They really dominated that. There's literally no other news that I've heard of except for Gearbox from PAX East. Pathological 2 release date trailer. I think I own Pathologic 1, and it does not look anywhere as good as this does, and this arguably doesn't even look amazingly good. So I probably should play the first one before I play the second one, but the second one does look like a spooky, surreal, weirdo game.
Reporting for duty. To battle! To battle!
Job done.
Your magic shall not save me.
Let's see, we already talked about that article. We already talked about that article. I may literally have about 20 articles that we've already talked about in a row. Here's something new. TechRaptor has an article, Metro Exodus to get a new Game Plus mode in the Ranger update. So, for the people over on the Epic Store playing Metro Exodus and will be potentially burned out on that game by the time it comes to Steam, you can play the game a second time. Although I don't think the game is probably good enough to play a second time. This is the other game announced at PAX East. A Squanch game is the company. This is Justin Rowland, the Rick and Morty creator. So yeah, it's a weird looking game that I think is mostly a VR experience that you can play outside of VR. Also, Trover saves the universe. I don't think there's, frankly, a lot that's going to be amazing about it.
Reporting for duty.
Let's see. Don't need to talk about that. Don't need to talk about that. The Surge and Conan Exiles are the PS Plus games for April 2019, if you're interested in that. Let's see. This game that's gotten more coverage than it probably deserves has finally gotten a release date. Heaven's Vault launches April 16th. This archaeological science fiction 3D adventure game. I'd like it to be successful and good. I suspect it probably isn't that long, or maybe mediocre. But now as a release date, so we can probably not talk about it again, ever, until it comes out. Let's see. TechRaptor has an article here. The World Video Game Hall of Fame reveals its 2019 finalists. Apparently, this is a picture of all of them. Let's see if we can get a list. Yeah. Let's see. Donkey Kong, Doom, Final Fantasy VII, Grand Theft Auto 3, Halo Combat Evolved, John Madden Football, Legend of Zelda, The Oregon Trail, Pac-Man, Pokemon Red and Green, Pong, The Sims, Sonic the Hedgehog, Space Invaders, Space War, Street Fighter, Super Mario Bros., Tetris, Tomb Raider, and World of Warcraft. I assume these are all the winners, and any kind of World Video Game Hall of Fame is going to have to just slam itself with having a lot of winners in the first few years, because there's so many video games that should be in a Hall of Fame. It's part of the Strong Museum, wherever that is, and they've been doing this since 2015, which means they've been doing it for 4 years, and they haven't had Donkey Kong in the list, or Super Mario Bros., or Pong. That's pretty ridiculous. So I don't think they're starting off on the best foot anyways. Let's see, Wolfenstein Youngblood is launching July 26th. I think we probably already mentioned that in the last stream. Let's see, TechRaptor has a review here. Vignettes review, it's Morphing Time. Seems like this is a puzzle-ish game of some sort. He gave it a 7.5. Very good. Vignettes, puzzle, and charm managed to overcome a few segments that don't work very well. Pros, smart gameplay and idea, charming looks, smart puzzles, cons occasionally wonky, central mechanic, and some puzzles drag. Okay. So, I'll see if Vignettes is available on PC. A game called The Friends of Ringo Ishikawa for Switch launches April 4th. Looks like a bunch of thugs. I'm not sure that this is... Well, apparently it's already on Steam. I think it's a fighting game with some Yakuza delinquent aesthetics. Okay. Here's kind of a story that's been misreported. Gamma Sutra says Minecraft update removes mentions of creators Notch from the splash screens. Notch hasn't been part of Minecraft. He created it certainly, but he hasn't been part of Mojang and Minecraft for at least a year now, if not 2 or 3. So the splash screen occasionally puts out little comments, Easter eggs in the corner, and they've just removed that. They have not removed Marcus Notch Pearson from the credits in the snapshot update or anything like that. They're just kind of not mentioning him, the made by Notch and the work of Notch thing. Which, in fairness, what Minecraft is now, the Java edition, is probably only 50% made by Notch at most. There's been a lot of updates and a lot of things that that have been added since Notch has left it. And Notch is a controversial figure who has been accused of saying controversial things. I don't follow his Twitter, so I don't know how accurate that is. Like, I can kind of see trying not to ruin your video game that's now owned by Microsoft by associating it with somebody who's not even part of the company anymore. These kind of things happen in lots of ways, and it's never going to erase the fact that Notch created Minecraft. He set the foundation down. He did the first few bricks of that castle. Gamatsu has an article. Torchlight 2 is coming to consoles this fall. This was a 2012 RPG. It's spiritual successor to Diablo, which, by the way, Warcraft 1 and Warcraft 2 are now on Good Old Games. I should have had a story about that, but I don't see it. So here's what I want to do. Well, my mouse feature is not working. Oh, because it's the other button. Let's see. I'm gonna just start clicking here and seeing if I can find any news that really needs to be reported, and I think we're gonna just have some new bits of news. I'm clearly gonna have to go through a lot of this and just look at the games and decide if they're good enough for the follow list and if put them on there, because we have so much left over, and it really doesn't make any sense that we have this much left over after probably 3 hours on a Friday. TechRaptor has an article here. We the Revolution review Law and Disorder. Let's see what they have to say about this game. Let's see. 6.0 good. I'll put it on the follow list. I'm not gonna even go into the summary or anything. Pause the screen now, I guess, if you want to read these. Let's see. Yeah, Warcraft and Warcraft 2 are now available on Good Old Games. I imagine they're pretty cheap and dirty ports, like Diablo 1 was. Let's see. Toki Remake is coming for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC in Q2 of 2019. Asterix and Obelix XXL3 is coming in Q4 in 2019. I'm just gonna skip some of this news also. TechRaptor has a review here for the World Next Door, which is an interesting looking animated game. I'm not sure if it's really an interesting game. It looks more like it's just a puzzle thing. Kind of a puzzle movement idea. So what do they say? They say it's a 7.0, very good. Okay. Pause now if you want to see the pros and cons. Let's see. Apparently Good Old Galaxy had a Galaxy security vulnerability that was fixed. TechRaptor has that article, you can read that. There's an Assassin's Creed VR escape room called Beyond Medusa. It's a gate. Beyond Medusa's Gate coming this May. That seems crazy, frankly. Last thing Assassin's Creed needs to do is expand out even further and make a VR escape room. That is like Ubisoft really needs to stop just slapping Assassin's Creed on every little side project they make. Let's see. And that puts me at the Humble Bundle. And that puts me all the way around. And so 2 minutes ago, TechRaptor had an article. Valve teases Index VR headset. So you might want to read that. And I'm just trying to see if there's any actual real news to talk about. Jackbox Party Pack 6 announced at PAX East. Okay. Some more games have come out on Steam. Mountain Blade 2, Bannerlord devs detail multiplayer skirmish mode. Acquisitions Incorporated D&D sourcebook launches June 18th. I'm not sure if that's an actual game or if that's just a Dungeons and Dragons. Oh, TechRaptor has a follow-up on the story of the British man who's being tried for hacking Microsoft and Nintendo. Apparently, according to TechRaptor, it is an autistic British man who has pled guilty to it, so they're throwing the book at an autistic person who's supposed to be a hacker and giving him 18 months in jail, I believe is what it was. TechRaptor has an article here. Valve focusing on larger artifact issue, not shipping updates in the intermediate future. So they're basically saying we're focusing on making the game good and making people want to really play it. Play Hearthstone 2 hours ago apparently has all the cards available to see, so maybe that's all the cards that have been revealed so far, or maybe that's all the cards, period. So maybe on Monday we'll go through all the cards if they're actually in the app. And I'm scrolling down to see if anything else there is to say. No. Okay, well, that's gonna be it for the stream. It's been kind of a weird one, certainly. Not a lot of stuff needed to actually be done in Hearthstone, and we just had this flood of games come out on Thursday and Friday, when it was very few games coming out before that point. That's going to be it for the stream. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.